My own mother stood up in court and told the judge I was mentally unstable, that I'd been incompetent my entire life, that I should never be allowed to control money or inherit anything from my grandmother. I sat in the Hennepin County courthouse wearing my grandmother's silver necklace and didn't say a word. The judge listened to my mother's lawyer finish his argument. Then she looked at the young attorney in the cheap suit with an expression I'd seen many times before, the expression she made when something didn't add up. She leaned forward. "Counselor, do you have any idea who this woman actually is?" The lawyer blinked, checked his notes, looked at me. My mother's face went from confident to confused to white, and I knew exactly what was about to happen. "My name is Rebecca Lang. I'm 35 years old. I work as a certified fraud investigator in Minneapolis. For 8 years I've specialized in one thing: elder financial abuse. I investigate cases where people steal from vulnerable seniors, forged signatures, fake documents, manipulated wills. I've testified as an expert witness in 42 criminal cases, 34 convictions. 14 of those testimonies happened in Judge Patricia Monroe's courtroom. She once told another attorney I was the most credible expert witness she'd worked with in 18 years. My mother didn't know any of this. We hadn't spoken in 21 years. When I was 13, my parents divorced. My father moved to Arizona. My mother remarried within 4 months to a man named Victor Hargrove who owned 2 car washes. And my mother decided her new life had no room for me. She didn't fight for custody, didn't call on birthdays, sent 1 Christmas card that first year, nothing after. I was raised by my grandmother Helen Lang in St. Cloud. Grandma Helen was a retired librarian who never made more than $45,000 a year. But she tracked every penny, kept receipts in labeled folders, balanced her checkbook every Sunday. She taught me everything about following paper trails. She just didn't know she was training a fraud investigator. Grandma Helen died 9 months ago. Heart failure. 83 years old. She passed in her sleep. I was holding her hand. She left me everything. The house is worth $300,000. Savings with $172,000. A small life insurance policy. She'd earned every cent helping people find books for 38 years. 4 weeks after her funeral, I got a letter from an attorney. My mother was contesting the will. Linda Hargrove claimed my grandmother had severe dementia, that I'd isolated her, that I'd manipulated a vulnerable woman. The woman who hadn't visited her mother in 17 years was accusing me of elder abuse. I laughed when I read it. Then I stopped laughing. Because the letter said my mother had evidence that I was mentally unstable. Documentation going back to my teenage years. She was petitioning to have me declared incompetent, to appoint a conservator for my grandmother's estate. The proposed conservator was Linda Hargrove. I called my boyfriend David that night. He teaches middle school math. His family does Sunday dinners and keeps photo albums organized. He told me to reach out to my mother. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. I love David, but my mother remembered the exact dollar amount of the estate down to the penny. She doesn't remember if my birthday is in April or June. Funny how memory works when money's involved. Before I continue, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. What would you do in this situation? I read every comment. Within 3 weeks it got worse. My mother filed for emergency conservatorship, wanted my grandmother's accounts frozen immediately. Her evidence was creative. When I was 13 and she abandoned me, I saw a school counselor. Depression, adjustment issues, normal when your mother decides you're not worth keeping. The counselor wrote that I was struggling with abandonment and low self-worth. My mother's lawyer called this proof of lifelong mental illness. She also had a statement from my stepsister Kendra, said I'd always been unstable and erratic. Kendra was 8 the last time she saw me, 21 years ago. She knows nothing about me. But once someone files a petition like this, the process starts. You have to respond, hire a lawyer, appear in court, prove you're not crazy. And while you're doing that, word gets out. My firm called me in. My boss, Gerald, believed me. But the firm couldn't have an expert witness whose competency was being questioned. I wasn't fired, but I was benched. No cases, no testimonies, no work that mattered. 7 years building my reputation. My mother destroyed it with one phone call. Then things got worse. David's parents started asking questions. His mother gently asked if there was anything he didn't know about me. He came over one night and asked why I wouldn't just take a psychological evaluation to prove I was fine. I said that wasn't the point. He said it looked bad that I was refusing to cooperate. That maybe there was some truth to it if I was being so defensive. I asked him to leave. He said maybe we needed to take a break. Until this was sorted out. I sat alone in my apartment that night, looking at my grandmother's photo from my college graduation. She used to say paper trails don't lie, that people can twist the truth, but numbers are honest. I decided to look at some numbers. I was still joint on my grandmother's bank account. She'd added me 3 years before she died for convenience. But I think she was protecting herself. I pulled 2 years of bank statements, made a spreadsheet, tracked everything. That's when I found it. 8 cash withdrawals in her final year, $3,000 to $11,000 each. Total, $51,400. Each withdrawal is within 4 days of a visit from Linda Hargrove. My grandmother had a mild cognitive decline last year, good days and bad days. She wasn't incompetent, but she was vulnerable. The woman accusing me of elder abuse had been stealing from her own mother. I didn't sleep, just sat with coffee and my laptop doing what I do. I investigated. That weekend I drove to St. Cloud, went through her house carefully. I found what I needed in her safe deposit box. Inside was jewelry, documents, and a brown leather notebook I'd never seen. A journal, dated entries from 15 months before her death to 7 weeks before she passed. My grandmother had documented everything. The first entry nearly broke me. Linda called for the first time in years, sweet, apologetic, wanted to reconnect. Grandma wrote that she didn't trust it, but maybe people could change. The entries got darker. September, Linda asked to borrow $1,500 for an emergency. Grandma gave it. November, Linda said Victor was sick, needed help with medical bills. Grandma gave $3,000. January, Linda brought Victor. Asked Grandma to sign papers to help manage finances. Grandma signed. She wrote that she was having a foggy day. Wasn't sure what she'd agreed to. 2 weeks later, she had a clear day. Looked at what she'd signed. Power of attorney, giving Linda control of her accounts. She was too ashamed to tell me. That destroyed me. My grandmother was too ashamed to admit her daughter had tricked her. So she documented everything, every visit, every withdrawal, every lie. The final entry was addressed to me. She said she was sorry. She'd tried to tell me but couldn't find the words. She knew Linda would come for the money. She wanted me to have proof. She wrote she'd always known I was stronger than her. That's why she knew I'd win. I sat on that vault floor and cried for 20 minutes. Then I got to work. The power of attorney was partially forged. Grandma had signed it, confused and manipulated. But the notarization was fake. The stamp belonged to a man who'd retired in 2018. The document was dated 2023. Someone used an old stamp on a new document. Sloppy. And a felony. I dug into Victor's background. His first wife died in 2011. His mother died in 2016. Both times, questions about estates. Money disappeared. No charges filed, but the patterns were there. Linda hadn't married a desperate man. She'd married a professional. I wasn't their first victim, just the one who knew how to fight back. I called my attorney Sharon the next morning, former prosecutor, sharp and direct. I told her everything. She was quiet, then said this wasn't just civil anymore. Wire fraud, mail fraud, elder exploitation. She asked what I wanted. I said I wanted them to walk into court thinking they'd won. I wanted them to commit to their lies under oath. I wanted the judge to see who they were before I showed her who I was. Sharon smiled, said she'd hoped I'd say that. The hearing was 7 weeks away. I built the case like I build every case. Files. Timelines, cross-referenced documents, verified every fact 3 times. Sharon filed my response, deliberately bland, denied allegations, stated I was competent, requested hearing, no evidence attached, nothing to tip them off. 2 weeks before the hearing they deposed me. I gave them nothing. Short answers, no explanations. My mother watched on video. I saw her expression shift from nervous to pleased. She thought I was broken. She had no idea I'd cross-examined embezzlers for 8 years. She had no idea the defeated woman in that deposition was an act. The week before the hearing, something unexpected happened. Kendra Hargrove wanted to meet. Sharon said it could be a trap, but I'd seen something in the deposition video. When Victor's name came up, Kendra's jaw tightened. I met her at a coffee shop halfway between cities. She was thin, exhausted, dark circles, bitten nails. She ordered coffee. Didn't touch it. She said she was sorry about the statement. Her father wrote it, told her to sign it. She didn't have a choice. I asked what she meant. She looked at the table, then told me about Victor's mother. Geraldine Hargrove died in 2016, 81, nursing home. Real dementia. Victor had power of attorney. When she died, almost nothing was left. He said nursing home costs ate everything. Kendra believed him. She was 22. Years later, she started asking questions. The numbers didn't add up. She confronted him once. Just once. She didn't say exactly what happened, but she touched the inside of her wrist, and I understood. Victor wasn't desperate. He was a predator who'd been doing this for years. I asked why she was telling me. She said she was tired. She'd carried this for years. She knew what was going to happen in court. Didn't want to go down with them. I said if she'd testify, I'd make sure prosecutors knew she cooperated. She agreed. But I didn't tell her the part that scared me. The part where I might lose. Because Sharon had told me something 2 days earlier that I hadn't wanted to hear. Judge Monroe was fair. But she was also cautious about overturning family decisions. If my mother's lawyer could create any doubt about my grandmother's mental state, the judge might order a temporary conservatorship just to be safe. Which meant everything would freeze. My career, my inheritance, my life. Sharon said we needed the evidence to be overwhelming, undeniable, and we needed my mother to make a mistake. March 21st, 9:15 a.m. I wore a gray blazer, professional, unremarkable. David sat in the back. We'd gotten back together 2 weeks earlier. He'd apologized, said his parents' doubts had gotten in his head. I'd almost said no, almost told him it was too late. But I needed someone there who knew me. Sharon sat next to me, a briefcase full of documents. Linda arrived at 9:18, navy blazer, pearl earrings I recognized as Grandma's. She'd stolen them during a visit. Victor walked behind her, face set in concern. Kendra came last, sat far away, stared at her hands. All rise, the Honorable Patricia Monroe presiding. Judge Monroe entered, reading glasses on, looked at the file, looked at my mother's table. Then looked at me. I saw recognition, a narrowing of eyes, small head tilt. She knew. The lawyer Thomas started his opening. 12 minutes. Concerned mother, estranged due to conflict, vulnerable grandmother, isolated and manipulated. My therapy records serve as proof of instability. He never mentioned what I did for a living, never researched beyond the basics. When he finished, Judge Monroe asked if the petitioner wished to speak. Linda stood, smoothed her blazer, started calmly, concerned, worried about honoring her mother's wishes. Then something shifted. Her voice rose. She pointed at me. She's mentally sick, incompetent. She's always been unstable. She should never control anyone's money. She manipulated my mother. She isolated her. She... Mrs. Hargrove. Judge Monroe's voice cut through. That's enough. Linda stopped, breathing hard. The judge turned to Thomas. Counselor, do you truly have no idea who this woman is? The woman your client just called mentally incompetent? Thomas looked confused. She's an accountant, Your Honor. Works for a firm in Minneapolis. Judge Monroe took off her glasses, rubbed the bridge of her nose. Miss Rodriguez, would you like to enlighten opposing counsel? Sharon stood. Your Honor, the respondent is Rebecca Lang. Certified fraud examiner specializing in elder financial abuse. She has testified as an expert witness in this courtroom 14 times. Every case resulted in a conviction. The courtroom went dead silent. Thomas's face went from confused to pale to gray. Linda's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Judge Monroe looked at Thomas. You didn't research the woman you're trying to declare incompetent? Your Honor, I. Sit down, counselor. He sat. Sharon opened her briefcase. Your Honor, we'd like to present evidence. What happened next took 47 minutes. Sharon walked through the bank records. 51,000 in withdrawals. 8 transactions, each within days of Linda's visits. She presented the power of attorney, pointed out the notary stamp from a man who'd retired 5 years before the document was dated. Then she presented the journal, read entries aloud, my grandmother's voice, explaining what had been done to her. The shame, the confusion, the fear. I watched my mother's face. Confusion, shock, then anger. She wasn't ashamed. She was furious she'd been caught. Sharon presented Victor's pattern, his mother, his first wife. The missing money. She said the FBI had been notified, was opening an investigation. When she sat, the room was silent. Judge Monroe looked at Thomas. Response? Thomas stood, hands shaking. Your Honor, I request a recess to consult with my client. Denied. Your client just accused Miss Lang of being mentally incompetent and manipulative. I'd like to hear your evidence for that, right now. We have the therapy records. From when she was 13 years old, after her mother abandoned her? That's your evidence? Thomas looked at his notes. We have the statement from the stepsister. The stepsister who hasn't seen her in 21 years. Who was 8 years old at the time. Your Honor, my client has concerns. Your client has a financial interest in declaring Miss Lang incompetent. Your client appears to have systematically stolen from her own mother. Your client forged a notarization on a legal document. Those aren't concerns. Those are crimes. Linda stood up. This is ridiculous. She's lying. All of this is... Sit down, Mrs. Hargrove. I will not sit here and be accused. Sit down. Linda sat, face red, hands trembling. Judge Monroe looked at me. Miss Lang, do you have anything you'd like to say? I stood. My legs felt weak, but I kept my voice steady. My grandmother raised me after my mother abandoned me. She worked her entire life, saved carefully. She wanted me to have security after she was gone. I looked at my mother. She also documented everything you did to her. Every lie, every manipulation, every dollar you stole. Because even when she was confused, she knew what you were. Linda's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of shame, they were tears of rage. I'm your mother. How dare you? You stopped being my mother when I was 13. Judge Monroe held up her hand. That's enough from both of you. She looked at Thomas. Does your client wish to withdraw her petition? Thomas whispered to Linda. I couldn't hear it, but I saw her shake her head violently. He stood. Your Honor, we'd like to request a continuance to. Denied. Given the evidence presented, this petition is frivolous at best and fraudulent at worst. Petition denied with prejudice. She wasn't done. I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal charges. I'm also forwarding the evidence to the FBI field office in Minneapolis. She looked at Linda. Mrs. Hargrove, you attempted to use this court to steal from your daughter after stealing from your own mother. You should be ashamed. Linda stood, grabbed her purse. This isn't over. Judge Monroe leaned forward. Yes, Mrs. Hargrove, it is. Linda and Victor left. Kendra stayed. Came over to me after. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For stopping him. For stopping them. She left before I could respond. David hugged me in the hallway. You were incredible. I just nodded. I couldn't speak yet. Sharon put her hand on my shoulder. It's over, you won. But it wasn't over. Not yet. The FBI moved fast. Special Agent Monica Rivera called 4 days later. She'd pulled Victor's financial history going back 17 years, found patterns I hadn't discovered. Victor and Linda were arrested on April 9th. Wire fraud, mail fraud, elder financial exploitation. The indictment was 21 pages. The investigation into Victor's mother reopened. Forensic accountants found over 220,000 in unexplained transfers. Kendra testified for the prosecution, got immunity for cooperation. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I was there for the verdict. Guilty on 5 counts, 6 years in federal prison, full restitution ordered. Guilty on 8 counts, 7.5 years. Everything they built on stolen money was seized and sold. I got a letter from my mother 3 months later. Didn't open it. Gave it to Sharon. She said it was 7 pages of excuses, no real apology. Asked if I wanted to respond. I said no. My grandmother's estate was settled in August. I kept the house in St. Cloud. David and I go there on weekends. We sit on the porch where she used to balance her checkbook on Sunday mornings. I kept her journal, not as evidence, as her voice, reminding me she never stopped fighting for me. David proposed in November. I said yes. My firm reinstated me the week after the hearing. First case back, an 86-year-old woman whose nephew stole $93,000. We got every penny. He got 5 years. My mother thought I was weak because I was quiet. She thought I was broken because I didn't fight back immediately. She forgot I was raised by a woman who kept receipts. Some people think revenge is about anger. It's not. It's about balance. About proving that patience and documentation beat cruelty and greed. About showing that the quiet ones aren't weak. They're just watching, documenting, waiting, and when the time comes, they bring receipts. What would you have done in my situation? Drop a comment below. Have you ever had to fight a family member in court? Let me know your story. If you want more stories about people who refuse to back down, hit that subscribe button. New videos every week. Thanks for watching, and remember, paper trails don't lie.